Another show I started watching was the new CSI. It's kind of a soft reboot from the original CSI crime scene investigations Las Vegas. This one's called CSI Vegas, and it's brought back some of the original characters. Now I don't know if they're going to stay in it, because I think it's currently 2 seasons out, and maybe one that's airing. I don't really know, but like, if any of you have seen the original series that ran for 15 years, I think it finished in 2015 when most of the original characters had gone. But there are characters that have come back, and if you haven't seen it and you want to see it, and you don't want any spoilers about it, then I would come back to this video after you've watched. Alright, so this is a spoiler zone. So there's a new head of the department, character named Maxine, and she's got a new team with her, but there are some familiar faces who actually have come back into the first few episodes. And so Sarah Seidel came back, and she's actually currently active again, and she's still with Gil Grissom, and he comes back, and they're investigating another character that kind of blossomed later in the original series, called David Hodges, and he's been framed, or possibly framed, for something that he didn't do. So Sarah wants to clear his name and clear their reputations, because it kind of tarnishes what they did back then. So, and she doesn't believe he did what they're saying he did. But Gil Grissom is not sure. You know the way Grissom was always, it's not about his opinion, it's about where the evidence takes him, and he's still like that. That's his mantra, is it's not about what he believes, it's about where the evidence takes them, which at the end of the day, it's all about science. You can't dispute science and forensics and things like that. But where Sarah Seidel would be looking at it from like a human perspective, and you know, I know she knows David Hodges. You know, he wouldn't do that, but like Gil says, and also she admits it is, I mean, do we really know anybody properly? And that is true. Because, like, you think you know somebody, but do you really know them? And that's what this is about. It's quite an interesting kind of angle. And I think I'm in 5 episodes in, and we still don't really know if David Hodges did what they're claiming he did. Also, Brass is back. The police, chief of police of Las Vegas, he's back. And part of the opening storyline involves him. Like I say, it's about 8 years since the show finished, so they're all a lot older now. I think I got into CSI 5 years, 6 years after it had already been airing. My brother was actually he was really big into the show. And he had the box sets. I actually think it was 8 seasons in by the time I got around to watching it. Also, around about that time, I was watching 24, Kiefer Sutherland. That's a good show. So I watched all 15 seasons of CSI Las Vegas. I'm on the 3rd season, although I've stalled with it. I'm on the 3rd season of CSI Miami. I need to get back and watch that again. And I never actually watched CSI New York because I'm trying to watch them in order. And CSI New York didn't actually come out until CSI Miami had been running for a few years. Because they kind of do what Star Trek does. The current series introduces the next series. Like Picard was there for the first episode of Emissary of Deep Space Nine, and then the start of Voyager, they actually set off from Deep Space Nine, where Quark was trying to con what do you call him? Can't think of his name. I'll just Google it. Harry Kim, that's it, Harry Kim. He was trying to fleece Harry Kim, selling him some jewels or artifact or something. And he said, well, I heard at the Academy about Ferengis and that they try and fleece you and stuff, and Quark kind of took an offence at it, but it was a pretend offence. And then Garrett said, Harry Kim said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. I'll take all you have, all of everything you've got." And then, what do you call the other guy? Tom Paris came over and he said, "Don't you know that real thingy jewels do a certain thing, shimmer or something?" And Quark knew that Tom Paris knew that these were fakes. And then he says to Harry, he says, "Didn't they warn you about Ferengis at the Academy?" It's quite a funny line because that's what he said to Quark. That's what Harry Kim said to Quark. But Harry Kim was very wet behind the ears. And he was just worried that he offended, but he didn't, because it's Quark. It was quite funny. Oh, a bit noisy out there. Revelers. Oh, this pen is really thick. It's very difficult to do these sharp edges. I don't know if I should put some water in, mix it with water. Or mix it with something, because I am struggling to paint these edges really clean. I'll give the brush a wipe because it's getting covered in paint too much. Yep. So yeah, so that's what the CSI does. I think Gil Grissom kind of was in the first episode of Miami, and then I think the main guy of CSI Miami, which I can't recall his name, is in the pilot of New York. Now they did have a CSI Cyber. They had a couple of seasons of that, but I think it was cancelled. And it had the guy, what do you call him? Van Der Beek. What do you call him? From Dawson's Creek. Not Jason. But I never watched it. But apparently it's been cancelled. So what they did was they kind of they did a soft boot on the original series and brought some of the regulars back. This is quite difficult. I might have to change colours because the paint's quite thick and gloopy. So I'll give this a rinse. And we'll change to a different colour. See if we get any joy. So I'm going to have to spin it around. I might do green. I'll do dark green. Which is 11. There is a light green as well, which is a 3. Yeah, I'll do the dark green. Get my hand in. Oh, I might leave that actually. That blue is very dark. It's actually looks darker than it does. It's supposed to look. Right there. I might do a light blue actually. Do a light blue, which is a 4. Quite a big area. Let's have a go. See what the consistency of the pen is like. It's quite thick as well. Yeah, so with CSI Vegas, so far so good. It's got the kind of beat of the original. It uses the same theme tune as well, but it's kind of the beat, but it's modernized because the forensic technology they used back in the early 2000s, a lot of the technology is actually updated, and there's new technology. They can do things now that they couldn't do back in the early 2000s. Like obtain DNA samples from smaller DNA samples on things like clothing and with technology it always moves forward. I mean, look at the iPhones, the touch phones. I mean, I still don't fully know how an iPhone actually works, although I use it. But the touch technology, I really can't wrap my head around that. All I know is that it works, and for me, that's all I really need to know. Does it work? Even if I can't wrap my head around how it actually works. This paint's just as bad as the dark blue. There goes Nigel Manson or Michael Schumacher or Ayrton Senna, or not Ayrton Senna, speeding by. I find that happens a lot at the weekends here, because I live on a long road and it's a one-way system, and it's a main artery into central London and out. I'm quite central, but not centre of London. Oh yeah, London. So I've told you, London I live in. So I think you guessed that anyway, from what I said earlier about the busiest city in the UK. Yeah, it's a nice city to live in. Everything's here, pretty much. I'd say the only thing that isn't here is America, you know, but everything you need is here. Everything. It's got all the sites, the tourist stuff, it's got all the shops, the attractions. Yeah, like if I could live anywhere in the UK, it would be here. Because once you've lived in London, anywhere else would seem less of everything. Like I went to see which you can do in this city. I went to see the Back to the Future musical last month. That's really good, really good. They take a different slant on the films, because if you're going to see something new, you don't want it to be the same as the films, but you want it to be like similar enough to the films where if you've seen the films, you kind of get it. So they kind of, a lot of it's quite similar. They've changed it up a little bit, which I can understand is because they don't want to do a like for like of the films, because what's the point in going to see a West End show if you've seen the film? So I get why they did that, and I like the fact that they did that, because really I was probably just expecting the film on stage, and in the most part that's what you get. You get the characters that you know. You get obviously you get the DeLorean time machine. You get the fact that they go back to the 50s. You get the fact that it's set in the 80s like it is in the film, but it's a different slant on it. And to be honest, I thought it was probably just going to be a copy of the film, maybe with songs in it and things, but they actually did change the nature behind it, the reason for going back in time. Now, I'm not going to give it away, because if you want to go and see it, but I did really enjoy it. In London, it's on at the Adelphi Theatre on the Strand. And there is a tube station nearby as well. I think it's Charing Cross. And there's shops and things on the way, so you can buy snacks and stuff. You are actually allowed to take snacks in as well, because they search your bag as you go in. And like, we had snacks, and they never told us not to bring them in. But like I said, you can buy things inside. Like they serve alcohol. You could buy ice cream and snacks and things like that there. But I mean, for me, I would prefer to, like I did, is bring our own snacks in, and then the stuff that we weren't bringing in, like alcohol and ice cream and stuff, because obviously you're not going to bring ice cream with you because it's going to melt. So they do these little tubs of, I think it's Ben and Jerry's. They do them little tubs, and inside of the little tubs is like a little wooden spoon kind of thing. So you don't need a spoon in your bag. So that was good. And we bought a program as well afterwards, because I thought the programs were free, because the tickets are quite expensive for a good seat anyway. For a decent enough seat, you're talking like 60, 70, 80, £100 and over. And I thought that you would get a program. If you're spending that sort of money, I thought you would get a program with it, but you didn't. You had to buy one. They're not that expensive, but I just thought we would get one for free. But nothing's for free in this life. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a good 2 hours, 2.5 hours, whatever it is. I would recommend, if you like the film Back to the Future, I recommend you go and watch the musical. I have the program behind me on a shelf that you'll see once I start putting my face on camera. You'll actually see it behind my head. But as I say, I won't be putting my face on camera until I've got a camera that's decent enough. So in the meantime, you've got me speaking and painting. See how squiggly I've got to get to try and fill in and get a clean line. But yeah, it's a good likeness to what this colour should be like that. That looks really dark, and I'm not sure if it's supposed to be that dark. I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. I think it's supposed to look almost like black, but it's not black. It's very, very dark blue. Now, so that means there's 3 different blues on this. There's a very light one, which this is. There's a medium one. And then there's a really dark one, which this is. So I'm going to stay on here and do this until my memory is full. And then when the memory is full, obviously I'm going to have to stop, because I'm using another one of my phones for this, but it's got more memory on it.